We have a story where they went with I have two where they didn't go with the preferred or recommended inspection company. One buyer ended up suing the inspection company for $6,000 for a structural issue.
Did they win?
Probably, yeah, they did. The inspection company paid for it. Actually, I don't even think they sued them. They could have, but the inspection company knew they missed it and just went and paid them.
And a lot of times, like I said, it's not, for lack of sense, because buyers they see what they got tunnel vision.
Right.
You could tell them, hey, this is here, but then it happens, and then they like, well, you didn't tell me. I'm like, yeah, we did. Yeah. But most times, our home inspectors, we have such a relationship with them that I'm like, I'll call, like, even before we close on a lot of my properties, the inspection companies, I have them come back out and do a re-inspection.
Sure. Yep.
Because if the seller said they're going to do repairs, call them back out, check these things that they said they're going to do. If they say it's not done, we're delaying closing.
Well, our second one was a home inspector that chose to lie. Ooh. They stood right there and looked my client in the face and said, this needs to be fixed. And on the report, it wasn't on there. Because the client believed that if it was in the report, they couldn't buy the home. And it was expressed in more than one situation that it doesn't matter what's in your report. Now, if an appraiser has an issue with it, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But this inspector chose to not put this in the report. And then they fired me after I did what they asked because the seller didn't want to move forward with their repair. Point is, you the only one who lost in this situation. You end up not getting the house. And even if you would have got it, this needed to be fixed. And you willing to work with an inspector that will lie for you. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, that is one thing we refuse. I mean, we have people agents that will make suggestions or, could the report be adjusted like this? And if it's just aesthetics, sure, we can do that. We can, we got some new report software, so we wanted to number the lines so you could call them out easier on your resolutions. Yeah. Sure, we can do that. But you can't ask us not to put something in the report. Right. You can't say, well, what if we just don't talk about that? Oh, no. Like that, yeah.
Who does that help?
Well, and it doesn't help you as the agent. I had a situation where I was at a lunch and learn or a meet and greet and had this guy come up and he's like, I got a home inspector I like to use. That's good. That's good. He goes, he knows what I want him to say and what I don't want him to say.
What?
And I was like, he can have all your business. Like, what? I don't care if you sell millions and millions of dollars worth of houses. I don't want any of it. Right. Because we don't play that game.
You taking a chance on, and not only, like I said, being sued, but shutting your company down.
For sure.
Why would you go around expressing that to people you don't know?
Yeah, you can just tell that he was the kind of guy that was, did a little showboat and, just that kind of
He was an investor or something?
No, he just had lots of gold chains and his shirt all unbuttoned and his hat on. Yeah,
Papito. Papito out there. He was out there showing his taco meat off. He was showing some taco meat. Okay. So I do have a question. Let's get into some juicy stuff. So I want to hear about some horror stories.
Oh, good.
And I want to hear about some unique stuff you've seen because I'm a nerd.
Because, like I said, we go through these houses. Yeah. And there's some stories that, like I said, you want to, just throw the hat like I'm over it. Yeah. Are those some of those ones, those one-offs that you're just like, I remember this story. I remember this client, this specific one. If I see him off the street, I'm like.
We had a client. It's been several years ago now, and she wanted to buy a house, and I did. Well, she worked with the first agent, and I didn't do the inspections for her, but she probably did 2 inspections with that agent. I did 3 inspections for her. The 4th inspection.
Hang on. Like a regular traditional owner-occupied buyer?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was expecting you to say like a flipper.
They canceled that many contracts?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hold on. Right? If y'all don't understand, home inspections is not cheap.
Not cheap.
You're going to spend $600-$700
That first agent was the smart one.
Yeah.
Well, and she didn't buy with the second agent. I did inspections for the third agent, and the first house I showed up on, you kind of started learning her patterns and what scared her and stuff.
What price point? Just curious.
2s.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and this again, 2017.
Oh, okay. So it was a nice house.
They were nice houses. But, but like, so the first one I did for the third agent, there was a slightly abnormal crack. Nothing, the foundation was not offset. The crack was just a little bit wide.
Something that you could have epoxied it and been done.
And I knew she wasn't going to have it. So I waited. She was going to be there. So I waited. I said, here's what we got. What do you think? She's like, that scares me. One of the transactions, she wanted a couple things fixed, and then she wanted the seller to line the chimney. And the seller's like, well, I'll fix these things. I will pay half to line the chimney, but I want you to pay the other half.
Because I never used it.
Yeah. And so she said, nope, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, let's think about it. And the seller comes back and says, okay, we'll pay for all of it. Nope, I don't want this house if you're going to be like that. They gave in to everything. What? They gave in to everything. And even after all that, she decided not to. And so I don't know if she was getting cold feet. I don't know if she just didn't understand the process.
It sounded more like cold feet, like she would talk herself out of it. Yeah. In that regards here, because people that are determined to buy are going to buy.
Yeah. Man, if you got that much money for inspections, and even in 2017, that's still a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Girl, you got money to fix that kind of stuff.
Well, because the amount of money you spent on inspections, you could have fixed
line that chimney. Well, and even when if someone gives in to all your wishes, and then you still don't buy it,
you just didn't want to buy.
You don't want to buy it,
right?
Like I said, we were talking off air, and I have a client that's kind of the same way, and they were just hoping that the seller would say no, in that regards here. And I'm like,
just don't buy a house then.
Just rip the Band-Aid off at that point. Just be like, I'm not buying,
right?
In that regards here. Are there any actual horror stories in a house when you're doing an inspection that, obviously you ain't seen no dead bodies or nothing like that?
You have?
Yeah. What?
Apartment complex. We do apartments as well. So we found a dead body in an apartment complex.
I'm laughing because one year y'all did, when I was still doing HR.
I was joking when I said the dead body part.
We've seen it all.
I was going to say one year when I was still doing HR, y'all did a home inspection for an apartment complex that was being sold. And like either the week before or after, they had a shooting that involved an employee there.
Was it? Oh,
don't say the name. Don't say
no.
I don't care.
I thought Deric.
I don't even know why I said that.
I'm like, please go ahead.
I don't work this no more. No, but like they had like the maintenance man had this, and then y'all had. It was so ironic that you guys had, and I worked with you at the time. I still was just 9 to 5 as well. And you had did that whole apartment complex. Then it was S Properties. I'll just say that.
It might have been this. Is it a big complex? Mm-hmm. We were there. If it's the same one, so it's a big complex, and it was a multiple day. I think it was 350 units, and so it took us a couple days. We can do.
You sold that, Sheridan?
I wish.
I'm about to say, hold on now.
I was their HR manager at the time though.
Okay, I'm like, hold on now.
So it took us a couple days to do it. So we go in the second day, and he takes me up to this apartment, and there's like police tape hanging from the door, and there's blood on the wall. I was like, what's this? He's like, oh, well, last night somebody pulled up and started shooting into the sliding glass door. So the tenant gets up and starts shooting back at him. He gets shot, and he died right here. I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't touch this stuff. Like, maybe we shouldn't be here. Like, this isn't for us. Like,
well, hold on, wait a minute. As soon as I see police tape, I'm going the other way. I'm not asking questions. That's not.
I'm surprised y'all didn't just say we won't inspect that unit at this time.
We didn't.
Yeah, okay.
The maintenance guy went in. I'm like, maybe it's a crime scene.
So do you guys actually refuse business at that point? Like, do you guys turn down people?
No. So, like with that one, we just didn't go into that unit.
Okay.
We were able to do the rest of the stuff. I mean, everything else was fine. I mean,
how do you even do an inspection on 350? Like, what do you go into every unit?
30 years of experience. Yeah, we go into every single unit. We did 2 pools, or a pool, 2 clubhouses.
How long did it take you to do from start to finish?
3 days.
Like the whole 8-hour day?
Yeah.
But they are going to call out everyone.
I'm telling you, it's a system.
Okay, let me ask you this. Hold on, because I got to wrap my mind. 350 units in 3 days. Mm-hmm. That's an average of like 100 and what?
We can do about 150. 15? Yeah, we can do about 150 a day.
With all 5 inspectors.
And that's what I was going to ask. How many I was going to ask, did you have to bring more people?
Yeah, we've got outside crews. Yeah, so when we do big complexes like that, or out in Grain Valley, we did 14 duplexes, and we did that before lunch. And then across, I know. Excuse me. So if you want to go to lunch, I can do that.
I still want to know about this dead body, though.
So the dead body wasn't as exciting as what it sounds as it is, but it's actually more sad. So the maintenance guy was taking us around, getting us in, and He goes up to this unit, knocks on the door. Nobody answers, so he keys in, and the chain's shut. Chain is locked on it. So he knocks, hollers. Guy doesn't answer. So he's like, we'll give him a minute. He's kind of an older veteran guy, blah, blah, blah. And then, so we do some other units. He comes back to it, knocks, opens up, nothing. So then I can't remember if he cut the chain or just, popped it in or whatever. And he goes in and apparently was like changing his clothes, like getting ready for the day, and just
had a heart attack or something.
Probably. Dead right there on the. Yeah, it was sad because he was the maintenance guy, so he knew all the tenants, and so we had to wait for the police to get there. He had to wait for the police to get there and to give a statement. And he's crying because it's a friend of his. You become friends with all those people. So
yeah,
it was sad. It was sad for him.
Dang.
Yeah, it was tough.
I bet y'all see some cool stuff inside the houses, too.
We see some pretty cool stuff. We did.
Do you ever go home? Because I know for me, like, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that in my house one day. But
I see so many houses, and I know you guys do, too, but I think I look at them differently. Like,
that's true.
I'm not looking at how big a bedroom is or vaulted ceilings or something like that. I'm looking for moisture stains. I'm looking for
that's
outlets.
Be hard.
Boring. Yeah, it is.
You be sitting at somebody's house for poking on you.
Like, Willis, this is inadequately secured. Or something like that.
I'm like, use your toilet and it's loose at the bowl.
I'm like, Deric, please leave my house. Expeditiously, please. Like, hurry up and leave my house. Like, Deric's pointing out, hey, this countertop is
I try not to be that guy. But it's tough to turn it off. Like, I'll go walk in a neighborhood or whatever. I'm like, well, they're missing shingles. It's like,
he's like Monk. Remember that show Monk? He's like,
but that's crazy.
I do have autism, got a little.
But that's crazy because that's like us. Like when I find myself like even when I go out of town, I look at real estate.
Yep.
I'm looking up on Realtor.com. I'm like, what is these houses going for? I'm like, okay.
I went to a bridal shower at the paddock, and I was like, if I could just list this house, minimum $700,000.
There you go.
Yeah. It is. I get it. Yeah. It's hard to turn it off.
Yeah,
you do like famous. Who's the most famous house that you've inspected?
We did. It was for Prince, musician, his half brother.
Okay.
Who's now passed, Arthur. We did a house for him in Lee Summit, and the seller was a former football player. He played for the Chiefs. He played for a couple different teams, but had a basketball court inside. It's a beautiful house. One of the when I do big houses, it's just big.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't need 17 bedrooms. Like that's just that's not what I need.
But
I do need a basketball court. I would love to have a basketball court.
Most of the $1 million homes I see, I'd be like,
it's
give me a $500,000 resale. I'm good.
Yeah, well, honestly, like even when I was talking to my wife, I was like, do I need like a 10,000 square foot house?
No.
I'm like, I have a nice size house now, and I don't use half the damn space in there.
Yeah.
I went to a $7 million broker open the other week, and it was exactly what I thought. Like the people who were well off, it was their kids' playhouse, basically. Like, the teenagers would go there for parties, and now they are grown, so they selling the house. Yep. And I'm like, can you imagine having 24 acres, and your parents don't ever be here? Yeah. And y'all just have the party house?
Yeah, it's...
My kids don't even think about it. It ain't happening. I'm just going to put that out there. It's not going to happen.
It's always cool to find, like, secret passageways. Those are pretty cool. We found a couple of those, some bookshelves that moves in offices, and...
Y'all were underground one time at that downtown building?
Yeah. We had, where was it at? Was it West Bottoms, I think? I can't remember wherever it was, but, like, you're down in the basement, and there's a doorway, and when you go out the doorway, you're underneath the sidewalk. And that used to be the street level. Like, where you were walking used to be the street level. And then they filled it in so the hills weren't as steep and everything. Because on some of the other buildings, you can look on the outside and, like, you can see the archways for the windows that are just above concrete level. So we see some pretty cool stuff like that. We've done, we did like a cemetery, not a cemetery, but like a morgue.
No, thank you.
Yeah, well, so we show up. It hadn't been a morgue for a little while.
I don't care.
It was now a sign company, and this big burly guy with the tattoos all up his neck, and he's got the beard, and it sounds like he's been eating cigarettes, and drinking whiskey for breakfast. And he comes up, he's like, I got the keys to get you guys in. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was going to do the apartment on the top floor, and the rest of the guys were going to do the rest of the building while I did the apartment. And so I said, do you have the keys for the apartment? He's like, I'm not going up there. I was like, well, I got to inspect the apartment. He's like, it's haunted. I'm not going up there.
He was dead ass.
He's
I'll see you guys later. Yeah, I'm not going to do this.
I'm out.
Yep, I got another property.
I'm out.
Yep, no thank you.
He would not go up. He gave me the keys, but he would not go upstairs.
I don't blame him.
Did you find it, honey?
Nothing. I mean, it was weird because it looked just like the older couple had left it. There were like catalogs for caskets and urns and stuff, just like sprawled out on the desks. And it was.
Yeah.
This is the part of the show where I will advise you that all money ain't good money, because I ain't doing it. You can count me out all the way.
I have always wanted to like find. This is gonna sound kind of weird. Like sometimes, okay, this happened downtown. One time, this lady was running from the police and she crashed into the building, and half the building fell down. And I think the fire truck hit her or something. Anyway, upstairs, like this building had not been touched in forever. Now they've made it into a restaurant. But it was all these old Packer, Ford, like cars up there.
Model T
literally had not been touched probably since then. Dust all on them and everything, and nobody would have knew it was there unless she crashed into it.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
To find something like that, or like sometimes they find chateaus like that got abandoned in the war in France and stuff. I think that kind of stuff's cool.
We had a client, and it wasn't antique cars, but we had inspected the house. He's one of the property managers that we do a lot of inspections for when they buy the apartment complexes. He's the guy that we met on there, and so that's how we did the inspection. And in the attic, they had left some gold telescopes, like the big tall ones on the wooden legs and everything. And, when you go into a property, you're like, oh, I hope they leave the lawnmower. I hope they leave, whatever you're seeing. And so they had these telescopes up in the attic. And so we do the inspection. He buys the house. We see him on one of our multifamilies. We're like, did they leave those telescopes? He's like, they did.
Damn.
He said they were $2,000 a piece, and they had 7 of them left in the attic.
So he got a good return on his investment early.
Little extra there. So that was pretty cool.
Let me ask you this. So now, obviously, you probably can't give me a straight answer, but you've inspected a lot of houses over the city. What areas do you typically go in that like this part of the city is typically going to be bad or noticed for this or that? Like, because I know a lot of them, like in Grandview, for instance, there are a lot of houses have like foundations,
yep.
Just because of how it was designed and built and things like that. So you're going to have a lot of those houses with foundation issues.
For sure.
So what part of the cities do you typically know, like generally, okay, this is what I'm typically going to find because you've been doing this a while. So when you see that address come up, what are some of the part of the cities that you know that are known for?
Yeah, anything downtown, like some of the older houses downtown, are going to have sewer issues. Not all, but majority of them. Mm-hmm. And, you're talking about investors, and you're talking about people, getting stuff to revitalize neighborhoods and stuff like that. We've got, now he's our investor. It used to be just an investor, and he was flipping houses. And we had an agent that tended to buy a lot of his houses. And every time we'd go out to inspect the house for our clients, he would have a sewer issue.
Is this me?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive. I mean, we've had this, yes, but it's not you. It's not you. It's not me. So he started coming to the inspections because he wanted to see what was going on, because we did 2 or 3 of these things. He's like, again? Got a bad sewer line again? Like, yeah. So he came, he talks to our sewer tech, and our sewer tech's, like, why not have us come out before you buy the house? Mm-hmm. And, so we'll do an inspection for you, even though you're going to tear everything out like you were just saying, but you can't tell what the sewer line's like.
Yeah.
So we scope the sewer line for him now before he buys that investment property, and so now he can either have the seller of that property fix it, or knock it off the price, or however that negotiation works out.
He wasn't doing that during his inspection period?
That's why I thought.
He's an investor. Like, yeah, he's buying this house.
But that's why I thought it was my story, because I kept having buyers in this same area, I'm sure a similar area, and it kept being the same dude flipping them. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, why aren't you including this in your scope of work when you flip the house?
Yeah. An inspection for a standalone sewer is $175.
Yeah.
And if that gets you a $5,000 fix, a $10,000 credit,
return on your investment.
Yeah, it's a good return on the investment. And so now he does that.
Right.
And again, I don't know if he was new at flipping. He does really good work. And even when we find stuff wrong, I've gone back out and re-inspected. He does really good work.
Right.
But he just didn't have that part of the game down yet.
That's a compliment coming from a home inspector.
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah. I like his work. He does good. Shout out Robert.
Hey, shout out Robert, man.
Does his last name start with an S?
I don't I feel like
you might as well go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
We need to talk because I know exactly who that is because he was my seller at one point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
I like him.
He's a nice guy.
So as you know, we kind of gonna wrap up here in a little bit. Sure. You know, in that regard. So you know, we've been through a lot. You know, from where you started and where the company is, and you know, what direction do you see? Like even your take on the real estate industry, because you've seen it through, like I said, different peaks and valleys and different things like that. So I'd like to get like kind of your expert opinion on where do you kind of see where things are going. You know, home inspection wise, are you seeing like business kind of taper off a little bit for less home inspection? Obviously, right now it's different because we're in the peak season. So you guys are probably ramped up to the max.
We are, and we've actually have been picking up for the last few months. So I know there's some guys that are still struggling to get a couple a week. I mean, if me and my guys aren't doing 4 a week each, that's a really slow week for us. I mean, that's really slow. So, you know, we're staying busy, but what we're seeing more is people doing all of the services, more services. And I think they're understanding the value of it more now. And I don't know
all them COVID realtors fell off.
It might be.
It could.
It might, or
I call them pandemic agents.
Yeah, or they've seen not doing the inspections. You know, so the sewer scope is kind of the newer guy on the block. But that's really been picking up. Radon was that for a little while.
Radon, I think, is just kind of standard now.
It is standard.
It literally is like secondhand nature. Yeah, like when you do a chimney, it's still kind of like a specialty thing. Sewer as well, but like I feel like termites, radon.
Yeah,
you know, just really
and
common
sewer.
standard.
We're getting sewer on about half of our inspections now.
Okay,
I mean, it's becoming that commonplace, which is good. I mean, we've only been offering it for 5-6 years, somewhere in there, from us, like through our company and actually having our own sewer tech. And so because we're seeing more services wanted, one thing that we're doing that's different than we have in the past is offering, we call it bill to close or bill, you know, paying for your inspections at closing time, because we felt like we were getting people that would call and they wanted all the services and they felt like they needed all the services, but they could only afford so much. So so let's say you have $500 today, but maybe you needed $700 to get your sewer and get the radon and all that stuff. And you want those because you want to protect your family as much as possible. So maybe you take that $500 and you save it. You put it in your sock drawer. And in a month at closing, you can save up another $200. Yeah, no problem.
So you do offer the pay at closing option. And I think a lot of those home inspection companies are going that way because I know the one I use at Diamond Heritage, even my parents, they did the pay at closing. Yeah. You know, in that regards here where you guys just send the invoice over to the title company and he gets paid out at closing. Yeah. So that is a great option for people who feel like I want these services done, but I can't afford them up front. Now, it will add up on you. I will tell you, because if you do too many of them and cancel the house,
right? Yeah, you're still responsible for paying for the services.
You don't get to skip out on the bill, you know, unless you just don't buy a house. And at that point,
me and Deric had that too. The man wrote them a bad check, closed, didn't buy the house.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah,
he bought it cash, didn't come with the money.
Yeah, it's
wow.
I mean, it's a little bit risky, and that's why we haven't really done it in the past, is because we've even had investors that have called us up and like, well, I know you inspected that fourplex, but I didn't buy it. Well, you can't go to the doctor and the doctor check you out and then him say, well, you're not sick. Well, I'm not going to pay you then.
Right.
Yeah.
Services rendered.
I had that exact same thing that happened with a client. He did the pay at closing. Well, first, he had came to me pre-approved from a different lender that I typically use. She called me like, hey, Willis, we had a great, transaction last time. I do have somebody who doesn't have a agent, would you mind helping him? I'm like, sure. I'm like, that's the dream. Like, yes, send him to me. Yeah. So we do the inspection, and he's already nervous because he had went through a previous lender and previous agent where he did the inspection and appraisal, and then he didn't qualify. So he's like, I spent all this money on inspections and appraisal and lost my earnest deposit and didn't qualify. He was like, he didn't tell me that he wasn't going to pay these people. And so because they offer – he didn't even say pay at closing. Yeah. He didn't even tell them that he would do that. He had them do the inspection. They were like, well, we're not releasing a report until we get paid. And he was like, well, I'll pay them at closing. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll put your card on file and kind of go from there. And he was like, I'm not putting my card on file. And I'm
he
like,
was planning to do somebody.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like don't do it because that's my company I typically use. So I was like, I even talked to the owner. I'm like, hey, if necessary, I'll pay you. I was like, because of our working relationship, I'm like, I'm not going to burn that bridge. Now, me and this dude have some words because I've had to pay for his inspection. But I'm like, I'm never going to burn that bridge. So I'm glad to hear that you do offer that pay at closing model because that will help a lot of people out who feel like there are services they want. But when they see the price tag, it's like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
But if they, like you said, if it's at closing and they feel like I have 30 days to save up for this, it'll kind of go from there.
Or if you do get into that opportunity where you can have some extra closing costs that are covered by the seller or something like that. Or, again, not a real estate agent. Home inspector.
I mean, you sounded pretty good right there, brother.
Well, I've been trying to get him to get his license and come to the team.
I know. Yeah. I'm busy enough as it is.
He would be a really good realtor. Just like I'm gonna be a good home inspector.
That's right.
I'm gonna just not be on the roof.
You go to crawl spaces, I go on the roofs.
I don't know about that either. I ain't the smallest guy to be running up under no houses. I'm gonna just not crawl spaces.
Wait, what if somebody can't fit in there?
Have you had that happen where somebody can't physically fit up under their house? Do y'all just send somebody else out that's smaller?
We can. It wasn't one of our guys that couldn't fit in there. But we've had that happen.
Ooh, what if you get stuck?
Yeah, that's the worst is when you look up in a fire, like in a chimney, and there's a raccoon looking down at you. That's always a scary time too.
Have you like ran into a situation with like animals and stuff like that?
Like I looked up in a chimney and there was a raccoon staring straight down at me.
I'd have turned that damn fireplace on. I ain't gonna lie to you, boy.
He don't care. He got snakes.
Yeah.
I got
Different
one dog.
podcast.
I have one dog. That's it. I don't do the abnormal stuff. But like I said, I appreciate, like I said, you coming on the podcast. Like I said, it has been a pleasure talking with you. Like I said, I've heard of you and your company. I haven't used you personally, in that regard. So, like I said, it's kind of like cheating on my barber. I ain't going to do it. But I appreciate it because, like I said, Sheridan was like, he's heard about you in that regards here. And when we walked in, he's like, I've heard of you in different circles. I met you out. And I'm like, I've seen you just, in that regard. Absolutely. So, it has been absolutely a pleasure, like I said, to sit down and talk with you, kind of go over, your business model in that regards here. I want you to be able to let the viewers know that we'll be watching this, how to be able to get in contact with you and your companies, to be able to booking, consultations, anything that they want to know.
So our website is homestead-inspection.com. You can get all of our pricing on there. You can schedule the inspection. You can see everything you need to know. There's a lot of good information as far as just like education on there as well. Our social media, we're either Homestead Inspection, Homestead Crew on Facebook. But we try to put some funny stuff up there. Obviously,
I follow you on Facebook.
Yeah.
I be watching. I'm like, who is these people?
But try to get out there and get better, just like everybody else is. You got to
be able. Like I said, it's a lot of competition, so you got to.
Yeah, you want to get it?
Oh yeah, go ahead and put that hat on, man. Go ahead and put that thing on, man. Now, where did you get this?
I ordered it.
Okay.
Had a custom patch made, so it's
like
custom.
That.
So yeah, we try to get as many people.
It stands out.
It does. You gotta have something. And honestly, home inspections are kind of boring. So you're going, like I said, I'm just telling you information, everything. It's like I like to try to make things fun if I can. So I figured this would be the next step.
Like a doctor with good bedside manner.
That's right.
I like it.
Patch Adams.
I need one of those. So you saying that you could be able to order me one?
I might be able to get you one.
Okay. Hey,
you got to book an inspection.
You show up on that.
Hey, I'm for a hat. Hey, guess what, next client? I don't know who you are, but guess where we're going? We're going to go with there. But no, thank you again. Once again, I appreciate you coming on here, taking some time out. I know you're a busy man. Like you said today, off air, you've been doing marketing. You was doing the paperwork. You was, kind of running the business because, I was the secretary. That's all?
Yep. She's on vacation, so we're covering the desk for her when we need to.
Yeah, so Deric actually had to work today. Oh, yeah. Would you look at that?
It was a sad day.
But once again, I appreciate you, everybody, for watching the podcast. Once again, this is the For Real Podcast.
Wait. He always forget, y'all. Please write us in.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Send us your questions, your comments. We want to be sure that whatever you want to know, we have it on the podcast. If it's something that's been a burning question related to real estate, comment below, like, follow, share, all of that.
It ain't got to be real estate related, honestly. Just write us. If you want to know something, you want to ask Sheridan a question, in that regard, so write her a question.
If you want to borrow money, Right, Willis.
Willis is broke. I'm gonna go ahead and say that Willis does not have any money. Willis has 2 kids and a wife, so Willis doesn't have money. It's all an illusion. This is all just for content. So I'm gonna put that out there. But no, once again, thank you guys. It does not go unnoticed, for the views, the shares, the comments, things like that. You can find us on YouTube, like I said, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever we are. Wherever you look, we're out there somewhere. Deep in Beyonce's interweb. Yes. We out there somewhere. So once again, this is the For Real Podcast, and we gone.
Bye.